WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And what you hear us say will leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about, here sometimes we'll get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois.
Welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back to the show. Well, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of different stories and topics that come across WeRiseNation.com. A lot of people want to talk about different things, and we discuss these things behind the scenes as to what we're going to talk about on the podcast, because we realize that people are listening. They want to know our opinion. They want to get our take on everything that's going on. And there's so much going on as it continues to go on, because that's a part of life. But what I want to talk about is, why do we do the things that we do? And every day, right, we see people doing things that are unacceptable by anyone's standards. And what I mean by that, I mean by committing crimes, of course. That's at the top of the list. Robbing, stealing, murder, all of these things that's going on right now all across the world and in our communities, right here at home in our backyards. And this was a case that came up. Of course, the CTA has been having multiple problems here in the city of Chicago with crime on the trains. And I was talking to Steele about it this week, how one of our guys from the neighborhood was on the train wilding out. All of a sudden, I spoke to him. He acted like he didn't know who I was. And that's what happens when your mind is not right. You know what I mean? It's like you're not thinking. So this was a case that came up about a week ago. I believe it was. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago. Excuse me. And this story was according to Andy Koval, writing for WGN News. A man pulled out his cell phone and then stabbed a sleeping man to death on a CTA Blue Line train early Saturday morning while recording, prosecutors allege. Demetrius Thurman, age 40, was ordered detained by a judge Tuesday during a hearing on a first-degree murder charge. Police responded to the Clark and Lake station located in the 100 block of West Lake just before 2:30 a.m. Saturday on the report of a stabbing. The victim, Dominique Polian, was sleeping on the train for about an hour and had no interactions with Thurman prior to the incident, court documents state. Around 2:17 a.m., Thurman entered the train and walked up behind Polian, holding his phone in his right hand and a knife in his left hand, prosecutors allege. He began recording and allegedly stabbing Polian once in the chest and once in the abdomen. Detectives recovered the video and surveillance footage of the incident. Polian screamed, backed away down the aisle, and then collapsed. Thurman was accused of fleeing between two train cars, then recording the scene through the window once the train stopped at Clark and Lake. He allegedly told security officers somebody got his ass before leaving the CTA station. Security officers initially did not know Polian was stabbed due to multiple layers of clothing. Paramedics located the stab wounds and he was pronounced dead at the hospital. Thurman was identified from a still photo from the CTA surveillance video via the Secretary of State's facial recognition program. A bulletin was then disseminated according to court documents. Chicago police officer recognized the bulletin and remembered he had an interaction with Thurman a few days before while he was sleeping on a Blue Line train. Thurman was arrested on Sunday in the 200 block of South Canal, wearing the same clothes as during the incident, documents state. A family member of Thurman identified him to detectives, according to court documents. He reportedly admitted to the crime while speaking to them. His criminal history includes 3 traffic offenses, most recently in 2023, a DUI in 2017, and a disorderly conduct in 2014. The CTA already has faced federal scrutiny and was required to submit a safety plan to the Federal Transit Administration. It came after a 26-year-old woman was set on fire while on a Blue Line train. She was transported in critical condition, but is now making a recovery. The FTA rejected the CTA plan, and up to $50 million in federal funding is at risk. So right there, that's a lot to talk about, because as a person who rides the train, and I see these people all the time, as I said just previous before I got into this story, an old classmate of mine was on there and he was wilding out, and he actually hogged off and spit on 3 women for no reason. He was turning up garbage cans and everything else. And people always talk about, they want them to report what's going on. And it's hard to report what's going on when there's no one to report it to. These stations are usually unmanned early in the morning. I know this for a fact because I ride the train 5 days a week early in the morning. So I know this to be fact. The trains need to be safer for the women especially. And sometimes, as we see, there are a lot of people who are homeless either by choice or by what's going on in society. Either way, both of those things combine to make a dangerous, hazardous situation. Because for the simple fact, you have people who are trying to go on their way, and sometimes there are people who, are train attendants, but as well as plane attendants who are going from O'Hare to Midway or Midway to O'Hare. And they're on those trains in the morning. And there is a safety concern. And we see this all the time. And as I said before, it's 2 ways, right? The CTA is saying, look, we're trying to put the best people in place. We need help from the police. Police are saying CTA needs to be doing a better job of monitoring the stations. I agree with both ways. But they have to work together as a cohesive unit so these things don't continue to happen. There was just another incident that happened a couple of weeks ago where 2 people were shot. 1 was killed. And it's one of these situations where with that incident, you had 2 guys jumping on one guy and pistol whipping the guy, according to the story. And that guy got the gun from them and fired on them. And he's being charged with murder. So there are going to be more details about that story. I got to imagine that that's an ongoing situation that they are going to continue to investigate. But we see these things time after time, and we ask ourselves, why do we do these things that we do? And it's simple. We are not disciplined. We are not happy with our lives. We don't have knowledge of self. All of those things are true. Because if you had knowledge of self and what you are supposed to be, you wouldn't be doing the things that you do. And I know a lot of times people talk about mental health and everything that goes along with that. That's true. Yes, mental health is part of the problem. But it's also a problem when people just want to do things because they want to do them. They don't necessarily have a mental health issue. They have an issue that they want to cause chaos in whatever way, shape, or form they can do so. And those people need to be put away somewhere where they can't do damage to other people. Because a lot of these situations could be stopped, right? If we just did the work in the first place. Don't wait for these incidents to happen. Check in, just like you check in on everything else. Check in to see what is going on the CTA. And have police walk in these trains. Give the citizens the ability to call these things out. Give the citizens technology where they can, maybe snap a picture or look at someone and say, hey, this guy doesn't look right. You see, when I ride the trains, I understand how these things go because I've been riding them for years. And see, I'm not afraid, but there are people who are afraid and they want to feel safe riding the train to work and from work and want to get home to their families safely. They deserve that. We pay for the privilege to ride these trains. We also pay to be safe on these trains. Because without us riding these trains, the trains would be out of business. And sometimes you got CTA personnel who really don't want to be there. Let's just face facts. They don't. It's just a job to them. And it's understandable because in all walks of life, people treat things as, okay, this is just a job. It's nothing more than that. And when people look at things like that, that's the kind of behavior that you're going to see happen time after time again. And these incidents will continue to happen. Now, CTA personnel is saying themselves, look, we fear for our safety as well. And they have a point too. Everyone should feel safe, whether they're doing their job, working for the CTA, or going back and forth on those CTA trains. Everyone deserves to feel safe. Because at the end of the day, we all got to work together to try to make it better. It's not going to get any better if we don't work together. You got to have the citizens working with the CTA, working with the police to try to get these situations under control, or they will continue to happen. They'll quiet down for a couple of weeks and maybe even a month. But when we go back to business as usual, this will happen again. These are the kind of things that we continue to see all the time and that we shouldn't be seeing. Another topic I want to speak on is the ICE goons. That's right. I'm talking about the ICE goons once again terrorizing citizens all across the country. And as I said before on previous podcasts, I'm not afraid of these guys. Nobody cares that you're showing off your big guns. That's meaningless to me. I've seen many guns in my neighborhood. It means nothing to me. Because you got a gun. Good. Everybody has one. That's good. So it's equal opportunity for anyone to get killed or murdered at any time. But we know up in Minneapolis, the young woman was murdered. It was a murder. There's no justification for it at all. And they called out the ICE agent who did it, as well he should be called out. Because he committed a murder. And I hope it eats him up the rest of his life. But the people that are behind this thing, because see, when that criminal, felon 47, when he falls out and dies or is no longer in the White House, those charges are still going to be there for someone else to pick up as well they should. So Greg Bavino, who looks like this big tough guy, wants to talk tough. He gets on Fox News and talks to that big dumb idiot Sean Hannity about safety and that this was a justified killing because he feared for his life. That's bull. You don't fear from your life when you shoot at someone from the side. You were never in front of the vehicle. The footage has proven that. He did it because he's a coward. Yes, he had PTSD from his situation that he was in before where he was ran over. Okay, he shouldn't be out there doing this job. Because for the simple fact, mentally, he's checked out. He's already freaked out and scared that it may happen again. So for them to get up there and say that this is justified, and of course, the Department of Justice, headed by that idiot lady Pam Bundy, they're not going to do anything because the only thing they're doing is kissing that felon's butt. And he's trying to defer from the Epstein files. That's why he does everything under the sun to stop mentioning it. His approval rating continues to be in the toilet. He's an unpopular president. He's a terrible human being. What more else can you say about him? He's a felon. And as I said before, we're going to keep yelling it. He's a felon and he's a pervert. So that's the things that we know about Felon 47. That's what I label him. He's no longer a president to me. He's Felon 47, the orange agent. And for all these ICE goons who think they're tough guys, they're only tough with guns. These are guys that in regular society, when they don't have a gun on their wayside, they're quiet as church mice because they will take that beat down that's coming. And it be guys like me that are willing and able to do so. I would love to take on one of those ICE goons one-on-one, man to man. I guarantee they won't win. And they know that. That's why they need to reach for that weapon. They know what will happen to them. So ICE, get the hell out of our community. You want to know how you melt ice? You know when you go to the bathroom and they have them in a urinal? That's how you melt ice. And that idiot lady, Krista Norm, her face is going to melt off. Baby, it's over with. You never looked that good in the first place. So for these ICE goons who are out murdering people, and this young woman is not the first one that was murdered. There was a black man that was also murdered. There was a man that was also murdered because he was left in a detention facility to die. That's murder in my eyes. That's negligence. So for ICE goons, man, you know how I feel about you. I see them walking down the street. We see them in the communities and in the neighborhood. And I look at them because they're meaningless to me. They're like the garbage that's on the ground. They mean nothing to me at all. And if they drop dead tomorrow, I put my lokes on and I keep walking because that's what I think of them. Another thing I want to talk about is what we're doing in our communities as far as representing Black Americans. Once again, we have to have this discussion. Because I was talking to a brother yesterday and we were speaking a lot about having generational wealth. And I was telling him about, and we were talking about, yes, reparations for the Jewish people. And of course, the Japanese Americans, they got reparations. And then you have Black people that continue to preach this narrative that, we need to forget about reparations. Why? Why should we forget about it and stop asking about it? Our ancestors died, you idiots. That's why I get mad with us as Black people. Stop being stupid. Stop falling for the okie doke. They want you to forget about it. They want you to stop talking about it. But as I said previously on this podcast, when people get a few crumbs, when they get fed, they're full. And they no longer care about the struggle. They no longer want to talk about it because they're sitting at what they think is the top. Until they need you back in that field, and back in that field you will go. Because see, the rest of us will be gone and you'll be outnumbered. That's the reality. So why do we do these things that we do? It's simple. We don't care. We've given up the right to care. We simply want to do what we want to do when we want to do it, and that's fine and dandy until you get in a pinch. Then you want the help of the black community. Then you want to lean back on the black community. Those doors should always be closed to people like that. Because if you didn't put the work in, don't expect to get any help. Because see, your narrative is pull yourself up by your bootstrap, which is what most of us continue to do every day. That's why I get up and go to work every day. And that's why I don't ask anybody for anything and don't accept any handouts from anyone. But when it comes to reparations, you damn sure best believe that I'm going to speak on it and talk about it and push for it to the full extent. Because it's what my ancestors was owed. It's what they deserved. My mother, grandmother, grandfathers, their fathers and mothers, they earned it. Because see, they were sweating in cotton fields and laboring for no money. And even when they did give them crumbs back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, it was only a pittance of what they were making. And guess what? After slavery and reconciliation, they gave those white slave owners back their land. We never got a piece of the pie. The pie that we did get was a sliver, and only a few of us got that. Most got zero, nothing. And see, you're going to tell us to stop speaking on that? Why? Why should we stop speaking on it when any other race of people that were treated bad didn't stop speaking on it? They stayed on it. They kept on it. And they got what was owed to them. That's what we need to do. But see, we too busy trying to be moguls, right? And fashion designers and all this other garbage that's out here to really see what's in front of you. Because see, you're beyond the struggle in your mind. You see, we all make money. Some of us make more than others. But at the end of the day, what kind of integrity do you have? What kind of dignity do you have when you fall for anything? And see, when they tell you to jump, you say, ha ha. That's what a lot of these celebrities and TV personalities and podcasters and different people do right now. They're not themselves because they're not comfortable in their own skin. They're comfortable in other skin. So when they tell them what to do, they're quick to do it. And we know how these celebrities are, as we said it before. I don't speak on them too much because I don't watch them and I don't pay attention to them. Only when it comes across, as I said before previous, when it comes across my phone, when it comes across my computer when I'm sitting down, and there's something that I see that is very ignorant and an ignorant statement being made, then I'm going to speak on it. Of course, I'm going to give my opinion. It's my right to. That's what I'm going to do. And everybody right now is clowning that idiot Stephen A. Smith, as well they should, because he's one of those stepping Fletchers. We already know that. See, now he's right there with the man that he was disrespecting, which is Whitlock. He's right there with Whitlock. Both of them are neck and neck. So why they hate each other? They should love each other because they both embrace the fact that they will kiss anybody's butt for a job. And we know this. So Mr. Loud Man that yells and shakes his head, he ain't afraid of nobody. Nobody gives a damn who you afraid of, Stephen A. Smith. You don't mean anything to anyone except white America. Because see, microphones are turned on in white America when a black man speaks down on black people. They love that. They love that. And we know that Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock, they play into that. That's their narrative. That's their stick. That's how they earn their money. Follow the money. They talk about other black Americans. They never speak on what white Americans are doing. Only what black Americans are doing. This is what they do. Why do we do what we do? Plain and simple, it's all about money. Follow that money, because they know that the more they speak down on black people, the more money that they can make. And at the end of the day, that's what all that matters to them. They don't care about anybody in the community. All these guys that get out here, these celebrity guys that talk about what's going on, they don't care what's happening in the community because they out of it. They live in their little fancy homes or wherever they live up on the hill, and they look down on other black people, as I've said before. They have a few nickels, right? You might have a couple $1 million, but the people you work for have billions and billions of dollars. You're never going to have that status, and in their minds, nor do they want that status. They want the ability to have a platform where they can talk down on black people. That makes them very happy. They're excited and they're very pleased. Don't give me that crap about being critical of black people to try to improve black people, because that's not how it works. It never works that way. You can sit there and try to talk down on people all you want to. People are not listening. They're going to do what they do. And at the end of the day, how you going to preach on somebody if you're not putting in the work anyway? So I don't want to hear what these guys talk about, all these political guys, and celebrity guys. I don't listen to them at all. I have no intention to listen to them because they're not saying anything that benefits me or my family. I'm going to keep pushing as I've been doing for me and my family, and when I can help other people outside of my family, I do that as well. But I'm not going to sit here and listen to a bunch of people tell me about what black Americans need to be doing when you're doing the opposite by tearing black Americans down. Makes absolutely no sense to me, and it's something that I'm just not going to get into. Another thing I want to talk about recently was a teacher that was missing here in the city of Chicago. Chicago public school teacher Linda Brown had been missing for over a week. I think it was about 2 weeks. And she was recovered from Lake Michigan a couple weeks ago. Police said they maintained a heavy presence at 31st Street Beach for most of the afternoon, with several areas closed off at 31st Street and Lakeshore Drive. Skycam 9 was over the scene shortly before 4 p.m. The Cook County medical examiner confirmed the body pulled from Lake Michigan in the 3100 block of South Lake Shore Drive. That's where they found her remains. Chicago police say Brown was last seen in the early morning hours of January 3rd in the area of the 4500 block of South Martin Luther King Drive, Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, in the Bronxville neighborhood. That's where she lived, because her husband was on TV talking. Brown had reportedly headed to Wicker Park for an appointment, but never arrived. Her husband said when he woke up that morning, she had already left their Bronxville home. Family and friends say she was going through some mental and other health challenges. They located her vehicle on January the 7th. Surveillance cameras from the Chicago Archdiocese building at the base of the 35th Street Bridge caught images of Brown parking her car, getting out alone, and walking across the bridge. There is no video of her coming back over the bridge or getting back into her car. WGN spoke with a former student who described Brown as a constant source of positivity who made a lasting impact on those around her. I don't know her family personally, but I know that the family we created at school and the impact she had on those she taught, Renee Lopez said. She was always willing to help anybody, and she will forever be ingrained in the culture and the neighborhood of the students. she impacted thousands and thousands of lives. Yeah, it's one of those situations where people ask why we do these things we do. Well, sometimes people just feel that they're at that point, right? And it's hard to really talk about it because you don't know what you would do in that situation. You don't know what she was going through eternally. You don't know this. And it's hard to try to help someone. Sometimes people are just unreachable. And they're resolved to the fact that this is their life and nothing was going to change it. Whether it was health issues or mental issues or both, a combination. We all feel down. We all get down in life, right? And we all feel like sometimes we don't have the strength to go on and we carry on. But for some of us, it's a little bit harder than others. So right here is one of these situations where it came down to this woman decided that this was the only way out that she saw. And it's an unfortunate situation. And I wish that I could say that it won't happen again. But I'm afraid it's one of these situations that just may happen again. Another topic I want to talk about is Trump continuing to take those L's in court. Once again, Felon 47 continues to lose in court as he tries to cut funding in blue states, which is an unlawful act. Several recent federal court decisions have found that the Trump administration acted unlawfully by canceling or blocking billions of dollars in federal grants and aid targeted for states that lean Democratic, also known as blue states. These rulings specifically address the cancellation of clean energy grants worth approximately $7.6 billion, as well as FEMA disaster relief funds and social service funding. The courts determined that such cancellations without withholding funds were politically motivated and violated the Fifth Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, which prohibits discrimination by federal agencies based on political affiliation or voting patterns. For example, a federal judge ruled that ending funding support uniquely in blue states such as Minnesota and others could not be justified on merit alone and restored tens of millions of dollars in grants to those states. These judicial decisions reinforce the principle that federal funds must be distributed fairly, regardless of partisan leanings, and confirm that executive actions targeting states based on political reasons are subject to legal challenge and reversal. They also protect essential funding streams for clean energy, disaster relief, and social programs that impact millions of residents in affected states. This legal precedent highlights the important role of the judiciary in upholding constitutional rights and ensuring equitable treatment of states within federal programs, despite political differences. It also underscores ongoing tensions around federal funding and political considerations in policy implementation. In summary, courts have ruled that withholding federal funding from blue states is unconstitutional, requiring the administration to restore those funds and comply with equal protection obligations, thereby safeguarding the interests of communities dependent on these federal programs. Once again, the windbag blows. because he keeps taking these L's in court when he has these unqualified people there in the first place. They don't even know how to present a case, let alone win one. And this was idiotic on its merit. For the simple fact is that these are the United States of America. If you want to split them up, then you be president of one side, just like the Confederacy. That's what the Confederacy was. You took a bunch of red states, basically, who wanted to keep slavery, and they wanted to battle for the right to be able to have slaves. And this idiot, this lunatic, this windbag, Felon 47, wants to separate states. He wants to withhold funding. This is the most idiotic, stupid thing that anybody can do. Just because someone doesn't like you. Nobody likes you. 30% of the people are the ones that like you. Everybody else hates your guts. And that's just the way it is. And you want to punish people based on the facts that they don't like you and they don't like what you're doing to this country. We can do whatever we want to do as citizens. It's our right to like or hate. That's our business. You can't change how people think. But see, that's not what him and his administration wants to do. They want to starve people out to make them lean in and kiss the ring. They want to make us obedient. Well, Felon 47, we got news for you. We will never be obedient. At least I know I won't. Because I'm going to keep speaking down on you and calling you trash, because that's what you are. And when they bury you 6 feet deep, you'll be back in the dirt where you deserve to be, because you're a dirtbag. So for him to withhold funding is an illegal act, and yet he continues to try to do it. Just like with these phony prosecutions of people, he's still doing the same thing. Even when he tries to do something right, people don't care anymore, because you have walked down a path of no return. People simply are tired of your rhetoric. They're tired of your garbage. The people in your own political party don't want to see you, except butt-kissing Lindsey Graham. And he'll do anything for you because he's a suck-up. He'll kiss your shoes with his tongue and lick them and shine them, because that's what kind of individual he is. He has no morals, he has no scruples, and he has no backbone. So he wants to tell people to go to hell because he wants you to meet him there, because that's where Lindsey Graham is going. Right to hell with Trump. He's going to ride his coattails right to hell. And anyone else who sides with this Felon 47, they have to remember, if you're committing criminal acts, at one point there will be elections again. Even though Trump wants to get rid of that, he doesn't trust mail-in voting anymore. You idiot. That will backfire on you. Because see, then people will actually come out in droves to make sure that your life is miserable for the last 2 years of your term. I know that's what I'll do. If you cut out mail-in voting, fine. I will go stand in those lines 5 and 6 hours to vote against you and your agenda. Because you're an idiot, you're a felon, and you're a moron. And you deserve to be kicked out of the White House, and you deserve to be buried 6 feet deep. That's what the people want to see. It will be a celebration when you are no longer here, because you inflicted unnecessary pain on people for no other reason other than you wanted to feel like a big man to get revenge for an election that you lost. And you trying to say that you didn't. And yet when things were going down on January 6th, you sit by and you done nothing. Now all of a sudden you want to protect the police. When the police were getting assaulted, you said nothing about it. Oh, the police were acting with the state government, which you controlled. Joe Biden wasn't even the president. So I'm tired of this argument going back and forth about what he's going to do and how he's going to make people's lives miserable. Let me tell you something, Felon 47, from the bottom of my heart. I don't give a damn. Because one day you're going to leave here. Whether they take you out in a box or they burn you up. So the pain that you're inflicting on people right now on this earth is nothing compared to the pain that you're going to feel for an eternity. And all the people that are around you are going to slide right down that slope if they're not prosecuted when you leave office. And a message for J.D. Vance, another one of these fat, pudgy guys when he was a kid that used to get picked on, and now he's vice president and he sticks his chest out. You're an idiot and you're a suck up and you're a moron. And you won't do anything to anyone. The title vice president you only have because of these idiotic tech bros who want a CEO to lead a country. But the people will always rebel against that. And if you think you can kill off the people's talk and what we have to say, think again. That's why these people do what they do. Because they want to control your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul. But you can't do it because we will not be controlled. You may call yourselves controllers, but you're not. And you got the puppet 79-year-old fleshbag felon who will do anything for you. And guys like Russ Vought once again, and Stephen Miller once again, look at the sight of these guys. I've said it before. That's not a pretty group of people that work in the White House and this administration. We know this. We know that they're not. They're not, cosmetically pleasing people to look at. We can see this. And yet still, they continue to talk about how they want to keep the pressure on people and the things they want to do. We're not going for it. We're not buying it. We're going to continue to talk down. I know I am right here on the Grown Men Podcast. I'm going to continue to speak out about these idiots and these morons and these so-called tough guys and strong men because they're meaningless to me. I look at you and wave my hands. And I dare you to run up on me because it won't end well for you. I promise you that. So for all these tough guys that are following Trump, we MAGA this and MAGA that, that's meaningless to real people. You only do that when you have numbers. When the numbers are not in your favor, quiet as church mouth. Creak, 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 creak. You hear crickets. Because they're not going to do anything to anybody unless they have numbers. Same way with ICE goons and the rest of them. When the citizens surrounded them, they backed up, tucked tail, and ran. Like the cowards and the dogs that they are, they ran. Because they're murderers and they're felons, just like this idiot who sits in the White House. Felon 47. That's exactly who he is, and that's what I think of him. Period. Last thing I want to talk about is something that I continue to talk about here on the Grown Men Podcast of why we do the things we do. And I'm speaking of parents when it comes to their children. Time after time, right, we continue to see these things happening where children are being left alone, children are being unattended, children are being put in precarious situations by their parents. And I'm really kind of tired of seeing this thing time after time it plays out. Child left at home. Child gets shot with a gun. Child left at home. Child burns up in a fire. Child left at home. Child gets assaulted or molested. These are things and stories that continue to happen time after time. And to me, it gets to me because these kids should be in a situation where the only thing they are worried about is being able to learn and go to school and play and have a good time and enjoy themselves. There's plenty of time for them to be adults, and they shouldn't have adult jobs. They shouldn't, they shouldn't be thinking of those things, right? That is for the parents to do. But unfortunately, some of us as parents are lost. We're not doing our jobs. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And sometimes that falls on the other family members. As I just previously said, children's one job should be to enjoy themselves and have fun as children as they learn and grow. And parents and adults who are in charge have the responsibility of making sure that their children are learning the right things and not the wrong things. As we see kids all the time, they're wilding out, they're going out, getting together because they go online, they get in these group chats, and they speak about where they're going to meet up and what they're going to be doing. And usually that's something that is not a good situation, because when you get a group of teenagers together, anything can happen at that point. But we want to get them before they get to that point. So at the younger ages, they should not be exposed to certain things. And I know people say you can't hide reality from them. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to show them exactly what goes on and exactly what is the outcome when you do these things. Problem is, we're too busy and caught up in our own dramas to pay attention to these things at all. And that's where it gets sticky. Because if you can't tell your children how they should behave and they're not listening to you, then there's a discourse there, right? At that point, the streets are going to take those children and assume the role that you're not providing for them, which is being the authority. I was speaking with someone the other day about this very thing, and I said, for the boys especially, a lot of the problems stem from the fact that the father is not in the household, or the father is not in the life, whether they be in prison or whether they are deceased. These are the things that affect communities in a whole, because once that father is not there, then that son takes on the responsibility of being his own father and his own disciplinarian. And of course, you know, as young boys, I knew myself. I didn't like to be disciplined. So I know that these younger boys don't like to be disciplined. And sometimes they find themselves raised by their mothers. And mothers are the best. They're the greatest right when they're doing their job. But mothers need a man to be able to help raise a boy to become a man. She cannot do it on her own. And if a mother has 3 or 4 boys and the father is not there, whether it's because they're not together anymore, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, doesn't want to pay child support, whatever the situation, that leads 4 boys to the streets. And what those 4 boys do can determine how whole communities and neighborhoods are being affected. It's very simple, people. It's not rocket science. It's not hard to figure this out. So us as parents, adults, we have to do our job to make sure that these young men grow up to be successful in life. To make sure that they raise children that know exactly what's going on and why these things are happening. It's a very important issue, and it's an ongoing issue that unfortunately we keep having to address. Because for the simple fact, it takes one bad apple to expose the rest. And it's not that the child is bad, it's just that that child never had the discipline because it was never shown to them. So they will do anything and everything under the sun that comes to their mind. And as teenagers, we have all crossed that path before. Some of us was more mature than others. But you need men to raise young men. So we need people to talk to these young men. They need mentors. And that's why if we start doing it at home, we can then extend it to other children. And they can extend it to other children. And we go on and on until we get to a point where there is more positivity than negativity. Let's expose children to things that they have never seen before. Life outside of the hood. Yes, there is a life outside of the square box that you live in. There's a whole big world that you can be exposed to and find out the things that you may like or that you may want to go or travel to. There's so many things, right? We know that it's a hard job. We know that it gets tough. But some of us seem to have walked away from our children. And that is the main issue. Because see, then those children turn other children into monsters and goons. And that's why we see a lot of them walking the streets right now. They don't have employment. They're not looking for employment. That's why when I see these reports and people say, oh, the people that are looking for jobs are down, because no one's looking for jobs. That's the whole point. When the unemployment rate goes down, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody has a job. It means people are not looking for work. They're looking for ways to get revenue, but not the same way as you and I will get it. So that's what we have to do as parents. We have to make sure that children know that there are consequences for their actions. A lot of kids don't get that because they're not given that knowledge. There's no one telling them, like, look, you got to do this right here. And not saying this particular thing, but you have to behave a certain way if you want respect, if you want respectability. But see, a lot of these young men out here now, they don't respect themselves. So what makes you think they're going to respect you? They will kill you. That's what they will do if they have a weapon in their hand. And I see a lot of these guys, when I'm listening to them talk and the way that they talk to each other, they have no respect for their friends, their peers, and they don't have respect for themselves. And they definitely don't have respect for elders or women. Otherwise, they wouldn't be cursing and using the language that they're using. Because I see it all the time. It used to be a time, like I said before previously, right here on the Grown Men Podcast, we didn't engage in that ever. When adults were around, we did not speak out of turn. That's just something we didn't do. But nowadays, it's become acceptable. And we have normalized this kind of behavior for far too long. And that's why we are where we are. And that's why they do what they do. Because if they don't know any better, if their parents are doing it and they see this type of behavior at home, whether it be the mother or the father or both, then that's what they're going to do. If they see you arguing at home, they're going to say, oh, this is respectable behavior. This is how everyone behaves. No, it's simply not true. And we have to set examples as parents to say, look, this is not acceptable. We're not tolerating this, and you're not going to do this. You have to live by the rules, or you cannot live in my home. And that's tough love that sometimes has to be given. And you just hope that God gets in your child and gives you that ability to turn their lives around and be better human beings. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be around forever to look after them. There's going to be a time where they are going to have to stand on their own and make decisions for themselves. It's hard. We know this. But in order for us to get to where we're going and stop doing the things that we do, we're going to have to be better. We're going to have to teach our kids to be better. It's the only way that we can survive. Well, folks, I'm glad you came in to listen to me have these conversations about all these issues that are going on in the world today. There are so many things to talk about, so many issues that we're going to talk about as we continue with the Grown Men Podcast at the We Rise Nation Network. Head on over to WeRiseNation.com. A lot of things over there. Check out our blog, some of the things that have been written. Check out the music. Vintage merchandise is always there being uploaded. Different items for people to look at and maybe possibly they may want to purchase. So head on over to WeRiseNation.com. Check out everything we got going on over there. But until next time, I am your host, BAN, and I will talk to you soon.
It's where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear.